I am an anti-religious atheist, and I had an experience the other day that just really got me thinking about how I would handle the situation if I was in it again. So I was at work, and this girl, maybe 8, 9 years old, came up to me and gave me this folded up piece of paper. And she went back to what looked like her mom, and they both smiled and waved at me and left. And it was basically a handwritten Bible tract. I don't remember what verse she quoted at the bottom, and then there was just a paragraph that says, Jesus loved you and he died for your sins, and if you pray to him, all the stuff. So I put it in my pocket so she's not going to see me do anything with the note, and then, once I'm sure they're gone, I go ahead and throw it out. First of all, I have considered Christianity. It's not something that I've just never thought about. I was raised with it. I've been to churches in half the country. I read the Bible 3 times by the time I finished high school. I've been to Bible studies. I'm aware. I'm aware that if I want to be a Christian, that is an option that's available to me. I reject it, frankly, for moral reasons, not just because I don't believe that there's a God. Although that's also a pretty major point. There's not much point in going to a church and pretending to pray to God if I don't believe in one. It did give me a bit of a mix of emotions because I used to think that my parents were heroes because they were missionaries. And we didn't just talk to people when we could here in the States. We went to other countries and frankly broke laws, to try to convert other people. And I viewed that as such a heroic, brave, and good thing to do. Now, in all fairness, some of these people that they encountered in some of these other parts of the world were people who may not have had an opportunity otherwise to hear this message, to accept or reject it. I live in the United States. I live in Georgia. Sweetie, what is the likelihood that I've never heard Jesus before? What's the likelihood that I've never heard of church before? What's the likelihood that I don't know what a Christian is? And so it's just this idea is presented to people that if we don't tell them, they're not going to know. And I mean, in all fairness, I know as much as I do about Christianity because I was raised with it. So yeah, people were telling me, but even if I didn't, there's so much just culturally and in our society that relates to Christianity. You don't live in the States and just not know about Christianity. You might not have a positive opinion of it. You might not have good experiences with it. You might not have an opinion one way or the other, but you know about it. And I just remember being a kid, there were times where I would want to give people random notes or I would hand out Bible pamphlets. And I felt like I was being a hero. I'm protecting people from not knowing about God. It made me emotional because I know that at the end of the day, this girl probably thought of herself the same way. I did something so wonderful and so good and so great, and I mean, she really didn't. If anything, it's actually offensive to me when someone just hands me a note like that and expects me to just be cool with it. And if she was an adult, I was at work. So, I mean, I'm going to do everything I can to not make this a scene or a big issue, but if this was a grown adult, it still would have been, at the very least, I really don't appreciate you doing this. I'm going to handle the situation differently with a kid. I didn't say anything to her. I knew what it was when she handed it to me. I just said thank you and left it at that and made sure she was out of eyesight when I threw it away. But I'm a pretty big believer that I should not try to influence kids in terms of what my views are. And that gets very tricky. Now, fortunately, she was not trying to have a conversation and really engage with me in that way because honestly, I don't really know how I would have handled that situation. I probably would have just said, I don't want to talk about it and just tried to leave it at that. And if she persisted, just kind of walked away or something. I'm an anti-religious atheist. Your parent might be encouraging you to go out and tell people about Christianity, but I promise you, they don't actually want me to look you in the face and tell you what I think. They don't want that. Which is crazy because if you're going to try to make your kid a little evangelist, a little missionary, you need to prepare them for the fact that some people hate God. Some people hate religion. Some people hate Christianity. Some people hate being told what to think or believe or do or what rules they have to follow per some book. It seems so sweet and simple to a child, but it is truly a very deep conversation. And it frankly deals with a lot of mature feelings and topics. So it frustrates me that the parents put their kid in that situation. Because what if I didn't give a damn whether or not I was influencing someone else's child in a way they didn't like? Because there's all kinds of ugly things that I could have said to this kid. There are plenty of folks out there that are not going to hold back if they are confronted with a belief that they find offensive or that they find immoral or that they disagree with. A lot of people are going to hold back at least somewhat if it's an innocent kid and they feel like they were just put in a situation, but not everyone will. Don't make that assumption. Don't put your kid in the situation to have weird conversations with adults that they might not be ready for. Christians talk so much about, the armor of God and going out there and fighting for Christianity. And it's like, okay, if you want to do that, that's cool. Whatever, you do you. But to put that on your kid and make them feel like they have this obligation, it just upsets me how much manipulation is involved to get a kid to think that way. It is absolutely sick to teach a kid, hey, I happen to have these beliefs that are very important. I'm going to share them with you. If you don't agree with my beliefs, you are conveniently going to burn forever because God's on my side. Like, that's such a sick message to begin with. I will never understand why people think that it is a good message, that being referred to as the good news is insane. That's nuts. That's nuts. That is wild that people call that good news. But to take it a step further and say, if we don't bring other people into this belief system, if we don't tell other people about this good news, they're going to suffer forever. So you have to try to save as many people as you possibly can. That's a lot of weight to put on a kid. And I remember going through that because anytime I had an interaction, I had an opportunity to share. There were times where I would be, talking to an adult that didn't go to church. I assumed for whatever reason was not a Christian, and I would blurt out some type of Christian, phrase or message, Jesus loves you, or pray to him and you'll be saved, or I don't remember exactly what I would say. I just remember it happening, and sometimes those adults being kind of taken aback because I was kind of aggressive with it, but I felt like it was my responsibility to try to save these people. And if I didn't do it, I remember there would be times I would go home and cry if I felt like there was an opportunity I had to tell someone about God and I didn't do it. I would be like, it's my fault that they're going to hell. That is so much to put on a child. There's zero excuse for it. Believing in the Bible is zero excuse. Like if you can't read that and understand that it's a bunch of fairy tales, then I don't know what to say to you. I can't relate. But to put that kind of burden on a kid and make them feel responsible for what happens to people in the afterlife that's so insane to me. And I don't understand that people think that's a good thing to put their kids through. Of course, it's not a good thing to put your kid through. What's wrong with you? So when I'm in these situations now as an adult, as someone who has rejected Christianity, as someone who is an atheist, if someone's kid comes up to me and their parents not standing too far away and they give me some type of, whether it's a paper or they say something to me that's about Christianity, it's like that puts me in such an awkward position. And it's like, look, I don't want to hurt your kid's feelings, but I kind of want to hurt yours because you putting your kid in this situation is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You don't know who I am. I might say all kinds of ugly crap to your kids. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's great either to raise kids to be afraid of everyone and everything and, never talk to strangers, never look anyone in the eye, never say anything. But to send your kid out there to push a particular message that can often be extremely emotionally charged, like it's just, I feel very torn between wanting to respect, okay, this is not my kid, it's not really my place to try to influence them one way or the other, and also kind of feeling like, well, if you're going to open up a conversation, why can't I just say what I think? And I think that's the problem because it's the same thing with adults. if an adult comes up to me and tries to evangelize to me, it's like I will try to politely end the conversation. Be like, "Look, it's you don't want to do this. I promise. I am trying to help you, honey. You do not want to do this. I promise you. You don't." And if they keep on with it, eventually shit's going to get real. And I'm going to say something authentic and you're not going to like it. And it's like, okay, first of all, I tried to give you some type of warning and tell you that I didn't want to talk about it. You continued to push, so now I'm going to tell you what I really think. If you're uncomfortable at the thought of hearing what someone really thinks of this idea that you're presenting, then don't put yourself in that situation. You know? Like I don't get it. There was another situation when I was at work. I feel like if you work in public service, like people view that as an opportunity to take advantage of you. It's like they know your obligation to be professional might like keep you from getting too aggressive if you disagree or have something to say back. But there was this lady, she comes up to the counter and she's handing me a Bible pamphlet. And you can see like from the cover of it that that's exactly what it is. She puts it on the counter and she slides it to me. And I slide it back. I'm like, "No, thank you." She's yeah, and we go back and forth a couple of times. And finally I'm like, "Well, I guess I'll just read it later." And then she reaches out and grabs my hand. And I can't stand that. I don't like to be touched in general, especially if you're someone I don't know. And it was so creepy. And she was asking if she could pray with me. I'm like, I don't do that. Nope. Goodbye. So then we finally get around to her order and I take care of that and she goes about her way. And as soon as she's gone, I rip it up and I throw it in the trash. But it's like, you're putting us in this situation. You're going to get offended and you're going to get angry and you're going to want to talk to my boss if I say what I really think in this situation, but it's okay for you to bring it up. It's okay for you to get in my face about it. It's okay for you to confront me with this. And that's the problem. You want to start a conversation, but if it gets honest, if it gets real, you're angry and you're upset. And I'm an abomination or whatever the hell you feel like calling me in that moment. Like it's so predictable how the conversation is going to go if I give you an honest response to your question about have you ever prayed or have you ever read the Bible or have you heard the good news or whatever their little question of the day is. From the perspective of the belief system, I understand why people think that it's important. I get it. You serve an absolute psycho, and you think that if you get me to serve that psycho as well, that psycho will no longer destroy me. Don't you think you should be asking yourself why you're serving the psycho? That's a question you should be asking. And I'm not gonna not say that. I think believing this stuff is nuts anyways. But even if I take the story and the message at face value, it's a horrible story. It's a horrible message. There's nothing good about it. And I think it's heartbreaking that people teach kids that there's something good about it and that they're responsible for all of the souls around them. And if they don't do enough to try to save people, they're bad. They're bad in the eyes of God. It's just which you're always bad. Everything is bad. Everything's bad. Everything about being a human being is bad. Feeling jealous is bad. Feeling pride is bad. Thinking is bad. Everything's bad. And I'm so grateful that I don't live in that environment. I'm so grateful that I don't have to deal with stuff like that. But I really feel so frustrated and upset when I see kids put into that situation because it's not fair to them. And you're also asking them to defend ideas in situations where they're not equipped. It's one thing if you want your 8-year-old to hand a Bible pamphlet to another 8-year-old. That could cause issues as well if, you don't know the parents or something like that. But to expect an 8-year-old to go up to a 35-year-old woman and start an in-depth conversation about really deep issues and just hope it goes well. Like that's really wild to me. I try to watch what I say around kids, but I promise you, a lot of folks do not. And that's just the reality. That's just a fact of the matter. A lot of folks do not give two shits whether or not it is a kid that's talking to them. And they're not going to hold back, especially if you bring up something that is such an emotionally charged issue for them. So I really wish parents would not put their kids in that kind of situation. It's just bizarre to me that people think that that's good. if I was in that situation again, I would probably handle it the same way. All she really seemed interested in was giving me the piece of paper and walking away. She wasn't really trying to start a verbal conversation. But had she been, I kind of feel like I'm not really sure what I would have said and done, because I don't want to push my own views on this kid, but at the same time, if they're coming up to me and preaching me, like I do have a problem with that. Like I don't want to be dramatic. I don't want to, make a scene here, but like I don't actually have to stand here and listen to this. I'm not actually obligated to do that. And I don't want to have to tell your kid to their face that these deeply held beliefs that are their whole world right now are beliefs that I think are kind of trashy. And that is all I have for this video. If you enjoyed this video, half this video, or even just a quarter of this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe.